Hey YouTube, welcome back to my kitchen. Again, dealing with chicken today. What I'm making today is chicken pot pies. My wife has a special request for some chicken pot pies. So I'm just going to break down this chicken. Going to basically simmer it. You know, slow poach the chicken. And then I will pull the meat from the bones and make pot pies. I'm going to take the breasts off this this bird here because I'm not going to use white meat. This is going to be an all dark meat pot pie because dark meat just tastes better in chicken pot pies. So same old thing I normally do. I'm just breaking down the chicken. I'm breaking down a little bit different. I took the whole back off the bird. And now I'm just breaking down the breasts. They just come right off like always. These breasts, I'm going to make something else out of the breasts. So I'll just have deboned and skinned chicken breasts for something else that I'll make later, and I'll show you that one. But this is going to be for my wife. Some chicken pot pie. You see, I got a whole chicken in here. Now I'm just going to cover this with water and let this simmer for about an hour to break down the meat and to start stock. And I'm going to be using the stock in the pot pie. Alright, well, I'll show you the next step in a minute. As you can see, I just have the chicken in the pot. I have the fire on high. I'm going to add some salt, a goodly amount of salt, some black pepper, and if I can find it, I found it. About a teaspoon of rosemary, just crushed in my hand. Gonna let all that poach together for about an hour. And then I'll show you what I'm gonna do once it's poached. I'm gonna let it cool overnight. Tomorrow I'll pull the meat off the bones, start cooking the vegetables, getting everything else together, and of course make the pie crust. And I'll show you how it gets all put together. Until then. So guys, now that my chicken is cooked, I'm going to start prepping my vegetables. All I'm doing is just rough cutting some celery. And I'm going to just large dice an onion. Just quick large dice the onion. And I have got some carrots here. I peeled the carrots and of course cut the tips and the ends off. We're just going to give these a rough cut too. We're going to cook all these in some olive oil, saute them in some olive oil and get them going. And I also got some garlic. I just quickly peeled some garlic and I'm going to fine dice the garlic. Just some nice fine slices on the garlic and get this in there with it too. Now I got a pan going, it's getting hot. Gonna add olive oil. And I'm gonna add all the vegetables to it. We'll get these sauteing up and cook them till they're tender. And this is gonna go inside our pot pie along with our chicken. And what I'll do at this point is I'll add a little salt, just a quarter teaspoon. Salt, excuse my back, some fresh cracked black pepper. We'll get that sauteing. Now that I have my vegetables cooking, I'm going to start on this chicken here. I'll remove the fat from the top of the stock.
Yummy.
Now I'm going to just stick my hands in, grab the chicken. What I'll do is I'll pull the skin off and just put the meat right to another bowl. This is the meat that's going to go actually into my chicken pot pie. Try to remove as much of the fat as you can, because fat is not all that great in chicken pot pies, but the nice poached meat, shredded up real nice, will be really good in the pot pie. Just pull all the fat right off. It comes off pretty easy. goes right there. See, I got a nice leg here. I'll pull the fat right off the leg. Just pull the meat right off of it. I'm going to check the meat for bones before I start prepping it for the pot pie itself. But I want all this meat. And I'm going to want all that stock as well. That's going to be the stock that I'm going to make the pot pie gravy for, out of that stock. So let me just pull this meat out. Bones in there. And continue until you have all the meat off all the pieces. Even the neck is good. This is the neck. I'm pulling all the meat off the neck as well. I'm not wasting any of this meat. Here's the back. Pull the flat off the back. And there is a lot of meat on the back of these free-range chickens that I have here. You can just see there's tons of meat on there. So I'm just pulling the meat right off the back, around the wishbone. There's just tons of meat. Pull the wishbones off and just shred this by hand. And just be careful not to put any bones. We don't want any bones in our chicken pot pies. But I'm going to check it after I do this, but I still don't want to drop any bones in there if I can help it. And just continue and do all this, and then I'll show you the next step after we have all the bones pulled, all the chicken pulled off the bones. Now, you can see my vegetables are cooking really nice. Got some nice color to them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of this stock right to that, along with all of this chicken that I pulled out. I'm going to let this all cook together for a few minutes and get good and hot. And in another pan, I'm going to add all this stock and let it come to a good boil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a roux and add this stock to the roux once it boils. So I'm going to let this get hot. Now that this chicken and vegetables is all nice and hot, we're going to add a little sage to it. I'm going to throw a little bit of sage, about a quarter teaspoon of sage on top, because that gives it a good flavor. Give it a good mix in there. And these pot pies are going to have lots of vegetables and lots of meat and a good flavor and a good color. So this is basically done. We're going to set this aside just as it is until we get the gravy done. I'm going to make the crust. I'm going to start with a cup of flour, and 1 cup of flour. Going to add the flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, teaspoons, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of sage. Let me grab the sage. Your 1/2 teaspoon of sage. 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I have a 1/4 teaspoon, so I should add half of that. That's 1/8. Going to add some milk. Let me mix this up first. Mix the dry, then always add, so the dry is all nice and mixed here.